adverse effects have occurred, therefore the consent should be reviewed. The Friends of Lake Taupo have 5 questions for Environment Waikato. Are Mighty River Power in breach of their consent or in breach of the intent of that consent? Will Environment Waikato require that Mighty River Power's consent be reviewed? And will they involve the public in making that decision? Will Environment Waikato require the other hydro consents to be reviewed? Genesis Energy, Trustpower and King Country Energy. Will Environment Waikato review their own flood management activity for which they do not have resource consent to undertake? And we have one question for Mighty River Power. What will Mighty River Power do to prevent more lakeshore erosion? There are 4 hydro consents and 1 unconsented activity, flood management by Environment Waikato, that affects Lake Taupo. All these individual activities, individually and in combination, all influence sediment starvation and water level control. Environment Waikato needs to review Environment Waikato needs to review all these consents, including their own activity, if the effects of ongoing erosion on Lake Taupo are to be addressed. And just a couple more minutes there. The flood and erosion strategy, I just want to kind of touch on that. Today, the Friends of Lake Taupo would like to congratulate Rick Cooper, the Mayor, and the former Taupo District Councillors for shaping the flood and erosion strategy as they did. We now have a strategy to direct us forward along the road to addressing erosion effects that result from unsustainable management of Lake Taupo by the hydro operators and the flood manager, Environment Waikato. The flood and erosion strategy is generally a good strategy, but it has a few serious flaws. In particular, it assumes the lake is operated similar to natural, and I think I've shown you here today there's great question about whether that's true or not. It's a falsehood. It's a myth. There are significant inadequacies in the strategy, implementation plan, and the allocation of funding that do not address the strategic direction set by Council. The major challenge for Taupo District Council on the road to reducing Lake Taupo erosion is there's a major T-junction ahead. The road to the left is Environment Waikato's vision. Their vision is to accept accelerated erosion effects on Lake Taupo as a natural hazard. A natural hazard or natural risk to be endured by this community. Environment Waikato proposes to remedy the effects of erosion as best one can afford and plans for Taupo District Council ratepayers to accept and pay for 55 or whatever % of the consequences of erosion. They're going to pay for effects that they do not cause. I quote Rick, "This is a bottom of the cliff strategy. It is designed to benefit the people of the lower Waikato who live on a floodplain." Environment Waikato has a major conflict of interest as they are implicated in the erosion problem. Environment Waikato's strategy results in accelerated erosion on Lake Taupo that in the long term is environmentally unsustainable. The road to the right, Taupo District Council's vision, as communicated by Rick's position statement at the front of the flood and erosion strategy, his strategy is to review the unsustainable management of Lake Taupo to ensure accelerated erosion in the future is reduced to acceptable levels. This is a vision that cares about a pristine lake, that lake out there. A strategy at the top of the cliff that questions the status quo and seeks to deal with the fundamental and underlying factors, sediment starvation and water level control, that cause accelerated erosion on Lake Taupo. We congratulate the Mayor and the former councillors for their vision and encourage you as councillors to support Rick to save our lakeshore for future generations. Your efforts will not go unrewarded. One day you will stand on the top of that cliff with your grandchildren, overlooking Lake Taupo, and you will know you were instrumental in avoiding an unnatural disaster on Lake Taupo. The Friends of Lake Taupo are here to support as best we can Taupo District Council. Taupo District Council's strategic approach as communicated in the flood and erosion strategy. And one last question or request from Taupo District. The Friends of Lake Taupo have one request of Taupo District Council. We would like to meet, we met with a number of senior councillor officers yesterday to brief them on the content of this presentation. This is a very complex issue at times, but it can be simplified, and there's a lot of information to absorb. We would like to recommend we hold a half-day workshop sometime in the near future with the councillors and possibly senior officers to explore how we can help each other. Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Brookie, just before I thank you and maybe open the floor up for questions, I need to point out that our webcam, whilst it was the first in New Zealand, now there's about 5 of them in councils, doesn't show your PowerPoint presentation. So I've got 2 requests of you. Could we have a copy of that?
I've already arranged that for you.
A copy of your written submissions that you've obviously read from, and we will post those on our Taupo District Council website, so people who have been watching and maybe all they can do is hear. And you've also given a lot of information that I wouldn't even expect of myself to be able to absorb it all. We will be able to peruse it, my councils will be able to peruse it at their leisure. So as to your request, I'll discuss it with the CEO and the Deputy CEO, and we'll get back to you on that one, because in all fairness, I think if something like that was to happen, it would have to be equal. So we need to discuss that one and get back to you on that, which we will do. So before I thank you, as per the resolution, and in the resolution I'm going to include Messrs. Trubridge, Brookie and the Friends of Lake Taupo.
Friends of Lake Taupo.
Which will be the resolution, but first I'll open up the floor to see if there is any questions anybody would like to ask as to clarity. So if there's been none, could I find a resolution that, as I said, I would like to change, that the information be received, Messrs. Trubridge, Brookie and the Friends of Lake Taupo.
Friends of Lake Taupo, represented by, please.
Presentation. Do I have a mover, please? Moved, Councillor Johnson, seconded, Councillor Williams. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you very, very much for putting the work and effort in that you obviously have, to the Friends of Lake Taupo and Mr. Brookie and Mr. Trubridge. So thank you very much for that. And repeating myself, but the Deputy CEO or the CEO will get back to you as to your request as soon as we can. So thank you very much.